How you doing, everybody? It's Jordan. It's Will. It is Load the Box on. I think I post these on Thursdays. Pre-recorded off-season content. While Super Bowls are won, me and Will are hydrated and ready to go. As there are 7 Minnesota Vikings above me that I'm kind of realizing now the graphic I made looks like a staircase ascending upward. And of course, passive aggressively, I made Kirk Cousins the bottom step. So the Vikings now, as we enter this Super Bowl week, which first we got to get past the Pro Bowl and then it's the Super Bowl. We'll talk about the Super Bowl next week. Vikings now have 7, count them 7 active roster members that made the Pro Bowl. I will list them very quickly. Kirk Cousins, Zadarius Smith, TJ Hawkinson, Dalvin Cook, Andrew DePaula. That is the bald guy right about here, who you don't know who it is. Daniil Hunter, and of course, the man, the myth, and the legend. Pay him all the money like we alluded to on, I think, Tuesday is when that video went up. Justin Flippin' Jefferson. As you can see by the title, we're talking about people who got snubbed and also, I think, bragging on some of these guys that deserve it. And I'm going to kick us off, and I'm sorry that I'm talking for too long to start this show. Kirk Cousins, this is the first season I've seen him in the Pro Bowl, and I've said, you're gosh dang right, Kirk Cousins is a Pro Bowler. That man played his hind end off this season, and he absolutely deserves to be a Pro. I don't even think he was an alternate. I think it was like him, Geno, and there was another quarterback whose name is escaping me.
Yep.
But
he was just in.
Yeah, like there was a third one that got elected.
Hurts.
Yes, thank you. And Jalen Hurts. And those were the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFC this season. And Kirk Cousins, I think, was a solid number 2 to Jalen Hurts this year. What a year from Kirk. Do you have someone in this list besides Kirk that you feel that strongly about? I mean, besides Justin Jefferson. Do you just want to get on this Kirk Cousins soapbox with me? There's room for 2.
Oh, I will gladly jump on the Kirk Cousins soapbox. I think we should spend a decent amount of time on him, just considering how great of a season he had. What the other guys had good seasons, obviously, as well. But I'm just quick looking here. Go ahead and talk more about Kirk Cousins. I want to dig up a little bit more on the Pro Bowl rosters, because with Jalen Hurts playing in the Super Bowl, I'm not sure if that will slot Geno Smith into the starter position, I believe.
Oh, really?
Based on what I'm seeing here on NFL.com, it doesn't necessarily mean that it was 1, 2, 3, but the bullet points are Jalen, Geno, Kirk. So I think that means Geno Smith is starting the Pro Bowl for the NFC. Strange.
I very, very strongly disagree. Don't get me wrong, the Geno story is a cool one, to go from the Jets to the Giants and then find himself backing up Russ Wilson and then finding himself in the playoffs, playing really well this season for Seattle. Let's not act like this was a defense backpacking a backup. No, this was a very good quarterback. So, and same thing I don't want to say the opposite can be said for Cousins, but like this season for Cousins really was like, we won games because of Cousins, and like we gave him time to throw the ball, and we found ourselves late in games with an opportunity to go down the field and win the game, and Cousins went down the field and won every game until the playoffs, but I still blame Kevin O'Connell for that, and I'll go to my grave saying that. TJ Hawkinson should have been past the sticks. This show's second catchphrase now, I guess, but I can't brag on Cousins enough this season. I'm still not sure what you do with his contract. Tune into the show we posted a couple days ago for more intake or for more takes on Cousins and his deal and everything. But I will say one name that like kind of stands out here to me is Zadarius Smith. Feels like you can tell that they do Pro Bowl voting before the season ends, because Zadarius was like really good. And then he stopped being good. Like he just disappeared once he banged his knee up. Do you have any thoughts on that, or just any snubs that you think need to be talked about?
Well, if we're going to talk about snubs, I think we should start with, let's just call it out for what it is. I think Kirk Cousins being a backup to Geno Smith is a snub. Yeah. A lot of that is just the reality of the, because fans vote for Pro Bowl stuff too, right? Fans obviously have a vote in this stuff, and fans don't like Kirk Cousins for a variety of reasons. They don't like his politics. They don't like his lack of COVID shot. They don't like how dorky and dad he is. They don't like how just straight up Minnesotan he is. And, there's a lot of things about him that people choose not to like, as well as, his sort of, vanilla look when he's on a football field. But the dude willed a horrific defense to 13 wins. Say all you want about Justin Jefferson. He deserves to be an MVP candidate. He deserves every single accolade that he got and that he will get. And I think he's going to win Offensive Player of the Year. But Kirk Cousins is the one who delivered the ball to him. Kirk Cousins is the one that took the snaps under center, led 8 game-winning drives. Obviously, a lot of things have to go right to have 8 fourth-quarter comebacks, 10 comebacks on the season, I think, maybe 11. But Kirk Cousins is the ship, is the captain that drove this ship.
Yeah.
And this team does not have 13 wins without him. This team does not have the type of season. Regardless of what PFF says, this team does not beat Indianapolis without him and that crazy 33-point comeback. And so there was just, we're talking about Pro Bowl. We're talking about the All-Star game. We're talking about highlights. Who had more highlights this year? I think it was Kirk Dad Bod Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. It wasn't Geno Smith. So
nope.
If you want to see some Kirk to Justin magic, take out Geno and just let Kirk cook. Let's just have some fun with it. Can you imagine Kirk and Justin just effing around in a flag football game? That'd be some fun. So,
not to sound too much like a very popular podcast that won't be named, but I'm gonna throw some Kirk Cousins shade just so I can throw some shade at some other people. That would be the first time Kirk Cousins ever threw with Justin Jefferson in the off season. That whole whatever. I'm sure that there was somebody legitimately that will have that take, and I'm so sorry for ruining it for you whenever they have that take, but that's an awful take to have. That's just an awful take to have. I want to talk about the fact that, I like what you said, how he's the captain of the ship, because if you think of it as a Viking ship where, there's people rowing on the sides, then I think it's kind of fitting that 2 of the biggest snubs, in my opinion, are snubs because of health and injury and stuff like that. Brian O'Neill and the left tackle, who's Christian Darrisaw, that was almost embarrassing for me. Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill.
Off the show.
I would have deserved it. I would have walked off the set. Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill, I feel like, kind of got snubbed. You can say it's because Darrisaw missed a few games. Also, Darrisaw's a rookie, and I feel like Darrisaw had the unfortunate. I meant to say as a rookie, he had the unfortunate. Circumstance, I guess, of there was the rookie tackle for the Chargers who played out of his mind all season.
Rashawn Slater.
Yes, Slater played incredible, and so all of the national media ate up, oh my gosh, this left tackle in the big city of Los Angeles who has 3 fans come to their home games. We're going to push him to the moon. And then Christian Darrisaw comes out and plays maybe the best left tackle in football, and it's crickets because it happened in the Midwest. God forbid we have a good offensive lineman. So I think that Christian Darrisaw's day is coming. I think he will start getting all-pro nods if he can continue to play the way he played this season, because that man was bullying people all season. And then, of course, Brian O'Neill, we kind of discussed this about how I thought he might be an alternate if he didn't have the Achilles injury, but he did, and so he doesn't get that alternate status. But he probably also could have been just a regular Pro Bowler. If he played for the Giants, Stephen A. Smith would be talking about him as one of the best tackles in football. But he has to play for the lowly Midwest Minnesota Vikings. So I think that you can definitely tell where the fan voting has an impact on this Pro Bowl.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, you can tell that Jordan and I are not biased at all when it comes to our Pro Bowl preferences. I mean, I will say with the just the whole Christian Darrisaw thing, it doesn't necessarily obviously have weight on Pro Bowl voting and Pro Bowl worthiness, because it's very much a snapshot of statistics and performance and output and all these things, which in the games in which Darrisaw played, he was every bit deserving of making the Pro Bowl. He missed a few, so you can totally make the argument that you got to play more games. Whatever. Christian Darrisaw, though, there's very, very good argument to be made that he is the Vikings' second best player. And obviously number one is number 18. And I think it's just to watch him go about his business. It's like he's in varsity and he's playing against the 9th grade team.
Yes.
And some of these pass rushers, Micah Parsons got a sack on him, maybe even 2. But that was also another concussion game for Darrisaw. He hardly let up any pressures. I can't even remember. I don't have his stats in front of me, but I can't hardly remember a sack that he allowed outside of that Parsons game. He's throwing people around, elite pass rushers around like they're rag dolls, and he's not even flinching. It's like he gets out of his stance and just pushes the people on the ground. It's something that I have hardly ever seen before outside of an offensive tackle, and it's something to behold, and it's something that unless you really pay attention to the team and the inner workings of the team and how football works, you probably don't even think about it very much because offensive line is a very boring position to analyze and to get excited about. But as you saw in the games last night, Joe Burrow did not have a ton of time to throw, and he made mistakes. Patrick Mahomes had more time to throw, and he made fewer mistakes. And that's obviously, we can talk a whole lot about Mahomes versus Burrow, who's better, but offensive line play matters so much in this league. You need to be able to have offensive lines that can hold up to give their quarterbacks time and to give their running backs running lanes. And for most of the season, when Darrisaw was healthy, he was ranking in the top few in the NFL in terms of run blocking from the offensive tackle, et cetera. So he's outstanding. He's another guy that the Vikings will need to pay in the upcoming years.
And give him whatever he wants. I'm going on the record now.
He's an absolute freight train. And people have compared him to Trent Williams. It's enough said. He's a great player. Yep. Keep him around. Would have loved to see him in the Pro Bowl, but maybe this gives him a little chip on his shoulder for next year.
His time is coming, and I do want to point out, I love your take of him being a freight train and him, just pushing people over, as soon as the ball snapped. But, that paints him in this light of being, sometimes whiffing and, someone hitting him. He's not. It's like he knows what move the pass rusher's about to use, and I can't tell you how many times it looks like he is 5 steps ahead of a pass rusher, and then the pass rusher is left there, and he's looking back at Darrisaw, and Darrisaw just pushes him down, and then he pushes him down, and he's like, "I've beaten you, I've embarrassed you, I've done the equivalent of dunking on you in the NBA or hitting a sick crossover in the NBA. I'm gonna push you over now and make you look like an idiot," and he just did it week in and week out. So I'm excited for him and the long career I hope he has with the Vikings, and the Pro Bowls are coming. I think the Pro Bowl is almost an insult to the quality of player I think Darrisaw can be and will be, because I think Pro Bowl is that should be an obvious one. The question is, how much of a blowout is the all-pro voting going to be? Yeah. So I think that's more where my focus is with Darrisaw in the future. It's not even on that, and that's super high praise. This is kind of a random question for you, but was the TJ Hawkinson trade? Would you do it over again? Would you keep the second-round pick, knowing what we know happened with the season? Would you still give up a second-round pick for TJ Hawkinson?
Yes.
Yeah,
because TJ Hawkinson is young. He's still in his rookie contract. They're probably going to extend him. He will not get Justin Jefferson money. Don't worry. But I am very much a cynic when it comes to the draft. And you will learn this about me the more we continue to do this offseason coverage, because when I see the draft, I see 200 plus question marks. When I see a player like TJ Hawkinson, I see a former top 10 pick, proven commodity, has produced with terrible quarterbacks and terrible situations. I'm not calling Matthew Stafford terrible, but there were people that had to replace him when he was injured who are not very good at football. Are
you insulting the great David Blau?
Never. Former Viking David Blau. I've seen him produce, and he did it again this year. I don't know where the Vikings would have been offensively without him, quite frankly, down the stretch of the season. He was vital, and he will continue to be vital. I mean, we spent so much time on the last episode talking about getting wide receiver help. That help and that need is even magnified if they don't have TJ Hawkinson. So I am very much a believer in the trade. Do you have any second guessing or misgivings about it now?
No, I mean, we have completely different stances on the draft, because I see, like, the way I look at the draft is I just see potential. I mean, last season I looked at a quarterback out of Western Kentucky named Bailey Zappi, and I said, this guy's like the second best quarterback in this draft, and it's not very close. Like, he's really good. And the Patriots took him, and then there was like a legitimate QB controversy. Like, I love it. I love it so much. You see it every year, all that stuff. You're not going to find a TJ Hawkinson in the second round. You might, but the odds are not very good. And I'm a gambler, and I love looking at odds, and I love long shots, but I would rather every time cash in a second-round pick for TJ Hawkinson than cash in a second-round pick for, like, and I'm about to go real deep draft talk on you, Dalton Kincaid out of, like, Utah or wherever he went to college.
I know that guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's not, I don't think he's, he might be really good, but we know TJ Hawkinson's really good. He's probably a top 5 tight end in the NFL right now. And you got him for a second-round pick. That's great value. If the Vikings don't make any moves, let's say they stick with like the 5 draft picks, in the second round, I will send out a tweet that says, remember the Vikings took TJ Hawkinson with their second-round pick this season, and we just got him to contribute a year early, and next year is his rookie year with the Vikings, essentially. So,
sure.
I don't regret it at all. Yeah, he's young,
still,
and that's super cool.
He's not like he's 32 or something. He's mid-20s, still producing at a high rate. So, yeah.
I think he just fits the Vikings so well, too. Like, he's such a minute. Like, I couldn't imagine. Like, I mean, I could, but, like, I couldn't imagine the Vikings having Travis Kelce as their tight end, because he's so brash, and he's so, like, I don't want to say this because it makes me sound like I'm being negative. I'm not. But, like, he's so, like, electric with the ball in his hands. It's like, that's not what we do here. At the tight end position, we draft Kyle Rudolph, an old gold domo, and we send him over the middle of the field, and we let him bowling ball around, and, like, that's he belongs. He's one of us. He's from Iowa, I think, or he was drafted out of Iowa. Like, just, I love him. And I saw somebody on I don't want to name drop other shows, but, like, I think it was on Purple Daily the other day, had a Color Rush TJ Hawkinson jersey on.
That's
and
fresh.
I almost pulled the trigger, and I was like, I don't care if it's $150. I want one on my back tomorrow, and I need to get on that. But
quick hot take on that. I think the Vikings should wear the Color Rush jerseys primarily at home. I love the Color Rush jerseys.
I 100% agree with you, and I think that the Vikings need to get a secondary helmet, but I've yet to see an edit of a helmet that I was like, I like that one. So maybe the Wilfs and the Vikings uniform people are on the right idea of, like, we're not going to mess up a good thing. Maybe just bring back, like, the 98 helmets and do, like, some throwback type, I don't know. I'm speculating now, but I do want to throw some things out here. Andrew DePaula, who I think not one of your infamous takes, but one of your takes this season that was incorrect, one of the few, was you were afraid that switching to Ryan Wright was going to be a bad thing because of...
Take an L on that one.
Yeah, because of his ability to hold the ball on field goals. And don't get me wrong, our field goals sucked this season. Wasn't a fun season for Vikings kickers. Tell me if you've heard that one before. But Andrew DePaula does make a Pro Bowl. He was a good long snapper. You can't blame any of the misses on the long snapper or the holder. Seemed like it was all the kicker. So Andrew DePaula going to the Pro Bowl. I don't have a ton of hot takes about the long snapper position, unfortunately. But
you're not grinding tape on long snappers.
I'm not. The best long snapper play of all time was when, I don't remember, I think it was like Joe Tessito's kid. Like, he was a long snapper at, like, Boston College. Or it was somebody on ESPN. His kid was, like, a long snapper. And he, my dog's going crazy in the background, excuse her. But his kid was on there, and they let his dad call his long snap. And he was like, look at him put the hold down. If you get a chance, look it up. I think it was Tessito. But Daniil Hunter, he's a Pro Bowler. He's an alternate Pro Bowler. So, he just got in recently. How good of a season? Like, I want you to give him a grade this season. Like, obviously, like A plus to F minus. What grade would you give Daniil this season?
Well, I think he had a very good year. I think him staying healthy for 17 games is a massive win. He has been someone who's been injured a lot on and off. He missed, I think, the entire 2020 season, correct? And then about 2/3 of last season. So
Yeah.
to play an entire season healthy and really not miss too many snaps, that's huge. His health was able to provide some stability. I have a hard time praising our defense for much, though. I wanted to ask you after this if you had any Pro Bowl snubs on the defense. You can try and cook some up in your brain if you have any space in there for them. But I think his sort of steady production, I would have liked to see more pressure on the quarterback. But at the same time, he was one of the league's best in pressure rate, I believe. I could be wrong on that specific one. Was it pressure rate or QB hits?
I thought it was
he
pressure.
was up there. Maybe it was pressure. Either way, those two stats mean similar things. You're getting to the quarterback and making him make a quick decision. So he was effective. Yeah, I thought he had a good season. Obviously, when you have a pass rusher, you obviously want to see him rack up, TJ Watt numbers. But I don't think you can really complain about the season that Daniil Hunter had, regardless of what fans might say. But I thought he had a good year.
Yeah. Follow-up question, and I have two names that I think maybe should have gotten some Pro Bowl love this season on the Vikings defense, but understand why they did. I understand why they didn't. Would you trade Daniil Hunter? Like, is there a realistic asking price? Because I think there is a realistic asking price for Daniil Hunter, especially because he might not play next season because his contract is like not guaranteed at all. It's all incentives. Like he's probably looking at an extension or a trade soon, and so would you do it? Would you trade him if a first round pick was waived under your nose?
Yes, I would. I wouldn't. I wouldn't look to extend Daniil Hunter long term. All the things I just said are true. He had a good year. He's super talented. He's built like a truck.
He's a freaking
He's from LSU. Yeah, LSU, football factory. But I have too many concerns and question marks about his health. If you're going to pay somebody, long-term money, they have to be on the field. And if you get a defensive coordinator who's just frankly better than what we had, and Brian Flores was a coach that brought blitzes, brought pressure in Miami. He's someone that maybe you don't need top tier defensive ends or edge or whatever you want to call them. So maybe you don't need Daniil Hunter. You can get cheaper in the draft. So I would, if the right trade was there, I would trade him.
I agree with you. I won't spend like a ton of time answering my question, but I would trade him. He's had health problems, and on the flip side, and this breaks my heart because I love Daniil Hunter, but health problems, and then stack that on top of, it felt like he really only played like half of a good season. It felt like him and Za'Darius, kind of like Za'Darius had the really good first half, and then Daniil had a good second half. And we kind of needed them to both be on at the same time. And so I'm mad at Daniil for not being on in that first, stretch of 8 or 9 games. And I'm mad at Za'Darius for not being on during that second stretch. So if both of them were off the team and the Vikings decided to make Daniil Hunter and Za'Darius Smith an unfortunate sacrifice of the youth speed movement, I would not be upset at all, especially if you can get draft capital for Daniil. I think that's just too promising for me. I think last guy on the list, we didn't really talk about Dalvin. We kind of talked about JJ though, so maybe we just talk about Dalvin Cook. We covered him in the video last week. By the way, my Pro Bowl snubs for the defense, it was Duke Shelley, surprise, surprise, and legitimately Patrick Peterson, I think, actually kind of played well enough that you could maybe throw him in there, especially since it's kind of a popularity contest. He's a name for sure. His name carries some weight. So, moving into Dalvin Cook, and I think this will be the last guy that we talk about, and then any snubs that we might throw in. But Dalvin, I thought, played really well this season, and I think he had 2 or 3 explosive plays and some key moments that I don't think we win if we don't have Dalvin Cook in the game. And
No.
that's a testament, because I was going into I've been on the, let's move on from Dalvin train for 2 years now, and I thought he played really well this season, but I'm still on the let's move on from Dalvin train. So what do you think of Cook this season? And, do you think the Pro Bowl's deserved?
I think you can say both things at once. I think you can say that he had a good season. I think you can also say that there were signs from this season that tell me that we should move on from him next season. I think it's totally reasonable to have both takes, and I don't think you have to be feeling like you're talking about both sides of your mouth, because I feel the same way. I think Alexander Madison, like I've talked about, provided a punch that Dalvin Cook did not. But you don't win the Indianapolis game without Dalvin Cook. You probably don't win the Buffalo game without Dalvin Cook and that just injection of life that he gave the Vikings offense with his 81-yard touchdown. He effectively sealed the game in Miami with his long touchdown near midfield. The one-handed catch in the back of the end zone against Washington got the Vikings to a tie in that game. He made some big, big plays, and you'll see all the advanced metrics of he was, 200 yards less than his expected rush yards, and some of the things where he struggled, after contact or whatever it may be. That's fine. He's not who he used to be. He's definitely not worth the money that we're paying him moving forward. And I think you can say that, and you can also say at the same time that he made plays for a Vikings offense that strangely at times had lulls and woke them up. And if you want to talk about highlight reels, you want to talk about popularity contests, you want to talk about, all-star game-like content, Dalvin Cook provides the highlights. I mean, the 64-yard screen pass against the Colts to tie the game, I don't know how many times I've watched that over again to see the blocks that were set up, to see the way he zigged and zagged through the defense. He's still got the shake. He's still got the wiggle. He's still got the speed. People talked about him being slow. He's not slow. He reached, I think, 21 point something % on that touchdown run, either against Buffalo or Miami. He's still got wheels. He had a good year. Maybe not as good as he's being paid, but that's not what the Pro Bowl is about. You're not paying people, or you're not electing people to the Pro Bowl based on their value per dollar.
Yeah.
So it's deserved. I think he had a great year. Very important for a Vikings offense that, at times sputtered, but was able to kind of carry the team.
Yeah. I think that I agree with everything that you said. I still think that it's time to move in a different direction, but you can get our thoughts on the running back room and other off-season moves that were needed in Tuesday's video that came out a couple days ago. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, by the way, while you're here, like it, all that kind of stuff. I'll let you get final thoughts in, and then I'll kind of take us out. You had the honor of taking us out on Tuesday, so I'll do it today, and then we'll be done.
Awesome. I'm trying to see if there's anybody that we forgot to talk about with the Pro Bowl. The last thing I'll say on the Pro Bowl, not even really related to any specific player, but I think the new format, if you're not aware, it's going to be fun. They're doing a lot of skills competitions and things like that, similar to how the NBA All-Star Game and NHL All-Star Game are doing now. The NFL has started to do that in years past, but I think it's becoming a bigger part of the weekend now. And fans might not care about it. I know a lot of fans don't really care about the Pro Bowl. I personally don't care a ton about it. I probably won't even watch it. However, I think the players care. I think the players care about the nomination. They care about the accolade. They care about the recognition. Just think about it. This stuff's important to them. If you're up for an award at work and they give it to somebody else, it might sting a little bit. Yeah. So, if you feel like you've put in the work, you want to get recognized, especially for the guys who are in contract years or looking for, Hall of Fame candidacy. These Pro Bowl things matter, whether it's good or not. So hats off to the 7 Vikings who are in. It's a resume booster, and I hope they have a ton of fun and there's no weird injuries.
Yeah, and I will end us by just saying, follow the show on Twitter at LTB Vikings. Check out the Bad Loser blog and follow Will at Will Bad Lose. Check out VikingsTerritory.com, and I'll end this episode with a gesture of good faith and a very stupid gag that I just thought of with one of my desk accessories. But Will, after an amazing season, I know we said we were on to the 2023 season. One last bit of the 2022 season here. I would like to nominate you to the Load the Box Pro Bowl. You're the one-of-one candidate, and your award is this little Viking helmet that it covers up. I have a microphone in it right now, and the green screen doesn't really want to show it, but it's for Christmas lights. You put Christmas lights in it, so it's very cute.
That means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So tune in next week. We'll be back, and as always, I'll leave you with a skull, y'all.